Well, hello everyone, welcome to another video, and this is something that's been on my mind probably since yesterday after something happened. But I'm gonna get into what happened later on in the video. But yeah, it definitely inspired me to tackle this whole topic about how the system is built against us. You know, it's meant to break us. You know, it's meant to watch us fail, suffer, and struggle.
Yeah, I guess. But that's life. Life is challenging. You can't just say stuff like that without more information. But this is the beginning of the video, so let's hear him out. Let's hear him out.
And nobody's gonna come and help you. You know, this system, everything, the government, insurance, everything that's like at the high top, you know, the 1% people at the top, they don't care, you know, for
Yes, the 1% are great people though. They were smart enough to gather together to come up with a plan, which is awesome in my opinion. Yeah, let me continue to listen before I say any more.
them we are just a number, you know, another corporate slave, another wage slave to just fuel the economy. And
We gotta do something. We can't just be free, just be doing what we wanna do, because that just, humans need some type of control. We're too insane. Even if the control is pretty dark on the 1% part, it's still something. We can't just be free roaming around doing what we want. It's just, I have seen human beings at their worst, at their best, and let me tell you something. You don't want freedom, complete freedom. This is probably the best bet we have at the moment until someone comes up with a better plan, a better state of living. Until then, let the 1% rule.
keep paying for stuff. You know, they're allowed to raise the prices of everything, and we're just supposed to comply. We're just supposed to be obedient and just fucking deal with it. I just see
Gotta deal with it, man. We gotta deal with it. That's just what it is, man.
something wrong with that, and I cannot sit back on the sidelines and just be like, hey, you know, I agree with this. Yeah, sure. You know, I know there are times when we can't really do anything. I understand that because that's just how it is. And a person like me is not going to be able to change, you know, the way the world works, the way society, the system is built. But, you know, if there's a little voice out there like mine that's, you know, speaking up for many other people like you guys out there, and I think, you know, I think it's
You know, you'd think that all these people who complain about stuff and then the comments are saying, yeah, we're the same. Let us never just come together and just live in some type of peaceful, like, let all live in peace with each other. Let all come together and just, even if they can't change anything, let's come together and just live in peace and have fun with each other and stop saying you're lonely and all this garbage. It doesn't make sense to me. Jeez.
still something worth, you know, like if I'm able to speak up about these issues, to bring awareness and to help others feel seen and understood. You know, from
Awareness, we all know what the heck is going on in this world. Ain't no need to tell anyone what's up in this world. We know we choose what we want to do, and what we chose was to be slaves and live with that.
a very young age, you know, ever since we were born, when we were kids, you know, we were expected to obey. We were expected to comply, starting with our parents, you know, to follow, you know, whatever they're doing, and do whatever they're telling us to do. You know, and that's like the least of our problems. But you know, being controlled starts like at that age. You know, when you're a kid and when you're with your parents, you know, parents telling you how to dress, what to do in life, and that's just how it starts. Then it translates to school, where you have to follow what the teacher says.
All right, school is a a bunch of garbage though. I have to admit that. But it's what the 1% designed, so what are you gonna do, man? What are you gonna do?
Do what the teacher's telling you to do. You have to ask them if you need to go to the bathroom. For example, you want to, vomit or take a dump and take a piss or whatever. You have to ask your teacher if you can leave, and this is gonna sound like an embarrassing story, but there was one time in probably third grade, I was feeling unwell, and I just puked in front of the class. I was sitting at the back of the class, but it's still, people saw that, and it sucks because I could have just made a run for it to the bathroom, but I was so worried about, oh, I have to get up, go in the front of the class because the teacher's desk was at the front. So, I was worried, oh shit, like what if I do puke in front, but, I was still at the back, so I had to, the stress was going on, like, oh, I have to walk up to the front. What if I puke at the front? And I have to ask a teacher if I could go to the bathroom and, deal with my shit. But, it's like, yeah, the accident just happened, and it's little things like that where, you have to obey, you have to follow teachers' rules, you have to comply, ask permission, and all
Yeah, what? I mean, yeah, we gotta do that, man. What's the problem with that?
that stuff. And you're trained at a very young age, starting with your parents and then teachers, and then not only teachers, but for example, the school bell. When there's a school bell, oh, it's time to go outside, it's time to go for recess, and you play for like what 15-30 minutes. Then the bell rings again. Now go back to your books, go back to your studying, go back to your math equations or whatever. And it's crazy because it's like this bell. It's something so simple that we were trained to obey. But when you really deeply think about it, it's like this bell determines whether you can go eat lunch or not. And it also determines when you can take a break, and it also determines when you can actually leave the place.
All right, I see how that compare. That's like training you for work. Yeah, I get you. I got that. I got that.
And it's insane. Like when you really think about it, it's actually insane how all of this works. We were trained to comply under not only human beings but a freaking bell, for Christ's sakes. And I know there are actually workplaces out there that still uses bells. I was one time, I was at the a car mechanic
Do they really still use bells? Well, I wouldn't know.
or whatever, and the bell rang, and I was sitting in the waiting room, and the bell rang. I was like, and that was the cue for the employees to go eat their lunch, and I'm like, what? It still goes on in some workplaces too? That's fucking crazy, man. And then it translates to work, the workplace, where it's the same thing. Your boss defines when you can take a vacation.
Yeah, because he's a boss, man. What?
And they also can say whatever to put the blame on you or about something, and they could lay you off, fire you anytime, and you're just gonna be like, you're on your own. It's like you're on your own. Nobody's gonna help you. The system, like, it's this work or die mentality, but it's not only work or die, but it's just kind of like this deal with it on your own mentality. It's like, as humans, as a species.
The people in your comment section all agree with what you're saying. Well, some of them do. Get together with those people so you're not that stressed out on life. It will give you something to think about, something to distract you. While life goes on.
We were always meant to kind of live in communities, and live close to each other, close bonds, having the same values and stuff.
Have values with the people in your comment section that agrees with you.
And with modern life, I feel like we don't have that right now. We don't. everybody is just focused on themselves, especially with cell phones now and social media. It makes it even worse. It makes people feel more disconnected. We're not connected anymore. We're just,
We're connected, but we don't connect with each other.
you could, for example, there's a neighbor on the street, and it's so surface level. The interaction is always like, "Hi, how are you? Have a good day," and stuff. And
Yeah, that's something I dislike. But what else is there to say? I mean, you can't really expect everyone to be, hey, so this happened today. What if one of the other person is in a bad mood? So they do that, just to pass time. I get it, but I don't agree with it, but it makes sense. There has to be something that everyone agrees upon to do to keep things going. Can't all be Einstein be talking about quantum physics or whatever the hell.
that's it. That's the extent of most neighbor interactions. Like, oh, have a great day. How are you? And then you go back into your house and you do your own thing. But I feel like I'm not saying that I'm willing to. Oh, people are probably gonna be like, oh, be the change. You can change stuff, but I can't because this is how everybody is. And once you start doing something different, people are just gonna look at you like you're weird. You're
Again, the people in your comment section that agree with you, hang out with those people, find out what they do, where they live, talk about stuff that's fun for you people. But you ain't gonna do that, are you?
like you're disrupting the system. You're disrupting the way things actually work because that's how it is. You're not supposed to be like besties with your neighbor. It's more common for neighbors to just be like, hey, how are you? And stuff like that. But you don't know what their favorite movie is. You don't know what their hobbies are. It's mostly very surface level stuff. And most of the time, for example, I noticed my parents, the most that they know about our neighbors is what they do for their job. The job is the most that they know with these people. And I don't know what their hobbies are, and I'm pretty sure my parents don't know what our neighbors' hobbies are. It's just
Yeah, the neighbor thing is kind of sad, but suppose the neighbor is someone you meet and you talk about stuff with and then they ended up being messed up. But they're your neighbor, so you can't really get away from them, so that leaves you in a bit of a issue, right? So I'll say neighbors, maybe not. Maybe it's someone on the other side of the fence. It shouldn't really be someone you talk to unless you're sure they're good people.
they're just defined by their job, and that's another problem in society is that most people are defined by their job, and we're not
Yeah, you got to be defined by something that helps people to see that you're not just some guy not doing anything in life.
defined by we're not defined by the things that we like, the things that we're passionate about, the things that bring us actual meaning in life. And I don't know, this whole disconnect with communities and our species, humans, is very apparent with what I'm saying right now. But yeah, back to what I was saying about work. It's like, they can fire you, they can lay you off anytime. They don't care. We're just another number to them. They don't care about our feelings. They don't care that we're stressed. They don't care that we're burnt out. They don't care that we made a little mistake or whatever. Oh, it's your fault. And it's just so fucking dumb. I can't stand this stupid bullshit that we have to go through. We have to keep complying. We have to keep moving forward. We have to keep pushing harder, no matter what. We never get to have a break. If you say you want a break, you can't because it's part of your job to work. You have to keep going.
Got to keep going. If you want a break, then someone else is going to want a break. So I'm not sure how that one could be fixed. Maybe everyone can have a break at the same time, but then how would the job flow? How would the money flow for the job? So that can't work. Can't think of anything right now.
Keep working, and potentially keep working more hours. And for some people, having to work 2 to 3 jobs just to make ends meet. For Christ's sake.
2 to 3 jobs is crazy. Crazy. I don't even know how people do that, man. Always wondered how someone even survives on that. How do they even have like the will to do 3 jobs? What?
And this is the problem with society and the system. Nobody cares if you're working 2 to 3 jobs. The system, the people higher up
All right, they should care about the 2 to 3 jobs. That's crazy.
there, they, as long as you're paying them, as long as you're paying bills, paying taxes, paying rent, that's all they want. They don't care about your life story. They don't care that you're working 2 to 3 jobs. They don't feel bad about you working 2 to 3 jobs.
They can't feel bad. If they felt bad about everyone, then how would the work continue? How would the corporation like survive? You see what I'm saying?
They don't feel bad that you're burnt out. They don't feel bad that you're stressed. They just they just want to be paid. They just want you to pay money. And I hate that. I don't like the idea that we're just forced to comply and pay whatever, again, they don't care. They're raising the prices of everything. They're raising the cost of living. They're raising.
All right, the cost of living thing is a moot point for me.
They can raise rent. They can raise the amount that you have to pay for bills. They can raise the electricity bill. They don't care. As long as you're bringing that amount that they're asking for, that's all they care. And I hate that. It's just, they don't care about our feelings. They don't care about anything. And we could, if only we were able to just, care for one another, and just.
Exactly. Well, care for one another, meaning the people in your comment section. Don't expect a boss to care. They can't, because human nature is to, be the best. Therefore, if they have too much emotions, you'll try to run over them. It's just the way it is. Sad to say that, really.
Just be like, hey, I feel bad that you have to do this. Let's help each other out. No, that's not how it works here, unfortunately. Same goes with healthcare, insurance, and all that stuff. Something happens to you, you're sick, you need medicine, you need a surgery. Okay, we got you, but you have to pay, and we don't.
Surgery, doctor stuff. I don't really have anything much to say about that. It's too much right now.
Care if you're jobless. We don't care if you're struggling to make ends meet. As long as you pay, we can make you feel better. It's what is this? Like, we were born into born into this world without our consent, and something happens to us, not of our fault.
Why do people say born into this world without our consent? I mean, the whole purpose of life is to give life. That's just what life is. So saying that is just, I won't say. He's pretty young, so yeah. He's living life right now. So yeah, let me just not say much about that one.
Because it's a health issue. Things happen. Sometimes you catch a bacteria and you get sick or whatever. I don't fucking know. And then you're expected to pay money to feel better, because you have to pay for the insurance, or if you're, depending on which country you live in, it might work differently. But from where I'm from, it's like, most of the time it's like you get an insurance with your full-time job, or you apply with the insurance that the government gives you or something like that. But point is, you still have to pay something. You still have to pay either for the insurance, and then you have to pay for the medication or surgery or whatever. I don't fucking know. Point is, they don't care. These insurance companies, they don't care. You're just another number to them, another claim. And as long as you pay.
Can't care about everyone. That's why we have people in our lives. Like you need 5 people in your life that care about you, and you should be okay if you can find them. Look in your comment section, bro. There's people that agree with you. Find a way to connect with those people.
Pay, that's all that matters. They don't care if you don't have a job. It's fucking dumb. Now here I'm gonna get into the story of the idea that brought me to this video. But essentially, you probably have, if you watched my I'm Tired of Existing video, I mentioned that I was in a car crash 2 months ago.
Okay, that's messed up. Can't really say much about that.
And I actually got my car back maybe 3 weeks ago or something. And the repair shop called me and said, hey, your car is ready. You can come pick it up. So I'm like, okay, I can return my rental car at the rental vehicle place thingy. And I return it. I go to the repair shop. Repair shop says it's ready. It's all good. I come back home. Okay, fine. 2 days later, the car shuts down on the middle of the fucking road. I was so fucking scared.
Wow, I've always thought of that. Thank God that I've never experienced something like that.
This repair shop gave
Wait, I have been in a car that has shut off many times. Scratch that.
me a car that shuts down on the road and started smoking. You know, the engine started smoking. Believe it or not. I call the fucking place. I call the fucking repair shop, and then they try to put the blame on me. Actually, the guy was like, "Hey, this has nothing to do with the accident, by the way." And then a couple minutes later, he's like, "Okay, it does have something to do with it. We'll fix it for you." So first of all, this guy at the repair shop was trying to gaslight me into thinking that whatever was smoking has nothing to do with the accident, has nothing to do with the repairs that they made and all that shit. Okay, and then they're done, they're finished, and they give me back the car. And once again, 2 days later, the car shuts down again in the middle of the road. Believe it or not.
Damn. Damn.
Crazy, right? And then now the insurance is like, I believe the insurance just wanted to keep a good relationship with the repair shop, so they are not covering the remaining repairs that I had to send to a different repair shop. Yeah, and it costed $700 actually to out of my own pocket. Yeah, the insurance.
That's messed up. I'll agree with you there. That's pretty messed up, man.
Insurance wants to keep a good relationship with the repair shop, so they're not going to cover any other expenses, even if the repair shop is clearly at fault for this situation, because they gave me a car that broke down in the middle of the road, that shut itself down actually. Yeah.
Can't you sue or something? I'm not sure how it works wherever you're from. Sounds like you could be in America or somewhere like America. Can't you sue?
And the insurance doesn't care. They don't fucking care. They just made me pay $700 out of my own pocket for the remaining repairs. And it's exactly what I've been trying to say in this video. The system is built against us. They don't care if, you know, we're struggling. They don't care if my car breaks down on the fucking road. We're just another number to them, and they want to keep a good relationship with their repair shop. Okay, fine. You know, but it just shows that insurance companies, they don't care about us. They don't have our well-being. They don't take into account, you know, our safety, our well-being. They're just, you know, all that matters is that they're making money. Just like everything is. Like everything is in the system. All about making money.
Yep. Money.
And you know what else is actually scary? You know, the government. You know, they can decide whatever the fuck they want, and everybody's just gonna comply and obey. You know, and
yeah, the government, man. They're the government.
we're not gonna. No, majority of the people are not gonna ask any questions. They can do whatever the hell they want. They can say we're gonna raise the taxes to $100+, and people are still gonna be okay with it. Trust me, I believe that all the fucking NPCs and the sheeps out there, they're gonna be okay with it, because
Bro, we're all NPCs in some form. Trust me. When you grow up, you'll see it more clearly.
that's life. That's the way it is. That's normal. and all that shit. And you know, I might be exaggerating with that $100+ taxes or whatever, but it's that's what I see. You know, that's the potential that I see could happen in the future if something like that hypothetically would happen. You know, most of the NPCs and the sheep out there, they're gonna be like, that's life. That's the way it is. And it's fucking ridiculous that we live in a world where people are just fucking obeying this, you know, the people at the top that don't give a shit about us.
All right, so he's going over and over about the people on the top, and I've already stated what I think about the people of the top. He's young. He'll get it eventually. Maybe, maybe not. But like I said, those people in your comment section that are agreeing with you, find a way to connect with those people so you can have a more peaceful life. Peace.